All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Okay, I know that's not quite a quote. It's not anything anybody says in the movie. Actually, if I remember correctly, it's not even in the book. But it was relevant for now because I was in the other room working, and I figured to myself, if I don't get in here and record this now, I probably won't tonight. And I do want to do it tonight. Last night, I watched The Shawshank Redemption. You probably can't see the title in the camera. I pulled this out already. I scratched it because last time I tried to scratch it on camera, and I'm not sure that worked so well. So I scratched it ahead of time and pulled it down for the video. I won't always do that, but the reason I did that is because it's number one on the poster. And if you look on IMDb, The Shawshank Redemption is still number one on IMDb, the number one rated film on IMDb with a rating of 9.2 out of 10. And it looks like over 2.7 million people have rated this on IMDb. I think I read somewhere that The Shawshank Redemption is technically one of the most perfect films ever made. And critics and fans agree that technically it's one of the most perfect films ever made, which is a little bit of a shock because one of the questions in the book is about awards. You know, how many awards did it win? And I'm shocked that it won 0 Golden Globes or Academy Awards, and it's technically one of the best films ever made. So I'm a little shocked about that. I'll get into that probably a little later. But anyway, The Shawshank Redemption, if you haven't seen it, wow, like such a wonderful film. All the emotions, all the great camera shots, and the pacing. The pacing is beautiful. Frank Darabont really did a marvelous job, a fantastic job, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Darabont. He did a couple of Stephen King's stories. The Shawshank Redemption was the first one. He did The Green Mile, and then later he did The Myst. I believe The Myst was written first, if I'm not mistaken, and then Shawshank Redemption was written in a book called Different Seasons. I brought this down just to talk about it real quick. It's Different Seasons. Stephen King wrote this. There's 4 different stories in here, and he broke them out seasonally, which is kind of interesting. I'm not saying these in order on purpose. So A Winter's Tale for winter, The Breathing Method. Now, I heard that they were going to make a film of this, and I still have not seen it. I would be interested to see a film made of that. I don't know how they would do it, honestly, but it would be interesting to see. A Fall from Innocence, The Body, which, if you don't know, was made into a 1980s film, Stand By Me. Very, very popular, very well-recognized film. Rob Reiner, fantastic. Maybe one of these days I'll review that. Summer of Corruption, Apt Pupil, great film made by Bryan Singer, probably in the late 90s. Apt Pupil, they kept the title. And Hope Springs Eternal, which is this one, Hope Springs Eternal. The original story is called Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. The film is called The Shawshank Redemption. He didn't. I guess he didn't really need or didn't want Rita Hayworth in the title. Anyway, so going off the book, The Shawshank Redemption, year release 1994. Aspect ratio, which I still can't figure out. Is aspect ratio really that important to ask on every single film? Oh, okay. 1.85:1. You know, I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not a director or producer. So I don't really know what the difference is in the ratios. I do know that there's a big difference between these films and something like The Dark Knight, which is filmed on an IMAX camera, and yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Like I said again, I'm not a filmmaker. I love film, but I'm not that versed in filmmaking to know what the aspect ratio really has to do with when you're watching it or viewing it. Rated R, starring so many people. Okay, I wrote Tim Robbins, Morgan Freeman, Bob Gunton, Clancy Brown, etc. because I have very little room here. But I mean, there are so many people in here that are so wonderful. James Whitmore is like just wonderful, absolutely wonderful in this film. Jeffrey DeMunn, I know he only has a small part, but I mean, there are several actors in this film that are in so many Stephen King films. Jeffrey DeMunn is one of them. Bob Gunton is one of them. You know, they show up in a bunch of different, Stephen King films. There's just so many people in this film. I mean, I could sit here and go down the entire list, but I mean, everybody's brilliant. William Sadler. I mean, everybody's brilliant in this. It's fantastic. Produced by Liz Glotzer, David Lester, and Nikki Marvin. I don't know any of these people. Sorry, I don't know what else they have done. I'm not the most versed when it comes to producers. I know some of the top producers, but I don't know a lot of the side producers, so I don't know these three producers. Written by, so I've already said, written by Stephen King. Well, the original story is written by Stephen King, and he has the credit in the IMDb, but Frank Darabont did, from what I hear, did most of the film script, and it's remarkable. What he did, not only directing-wise, but what he did with the dialogue and where he went with certain things. I love the book. The book is fantastic. The novella is fantastic. But in my opinion, Stephen King, when he was writing it, I don't know if he meant this or not, but I get this overwhelming feeling when I read it of anger and frustration, and I get it because he's imprisoned wrongfully, and he knows it, and he's stuck there. And I feel like when I'm reading it, I get this anger overtone when I'm reading it. I don't know if Stephen King meant that or not, but when I watched the film, Darabont went a completely different way. There are the absolutely undertones and constant feeling of like this slight like depression and despair. Yes, because he's in prison. But there's also, before you start feeling that, and this is what I think is brilliant, before you really start getting drowned in despair, because there are some films, like some slower horror films, that really can bring you down. Just before you get to that point where you start feeling down, he brings something into either the music or the dialogue that really kind of brings you back up, and it's that hope. He really took to heart not only the dialogue in the film about hope being the best of things, but he also took to heart that in the book it's hope springs eternal. Rita Hayworth in the Shawshank Redemption, and I think he took that to heart and really wanted to bring out the hope in the film, and I think he did it brilliantly. He did it very fantastic. And I don't, like I said, I feel more of an anger overtone when I read the book. The movie is more about hope, and it's just wonderful. Music by Thomas Newman. Okay, so I didn't know this before I sat down and wrote in the book. I didn't realize that it was Thomas Newman, but once I realized it was Thomas Newman, oh, of course, it sounds a lot like him, and I love American Beauty, and I love Road to Perdition, and those are both done by Sam Mendes and Thomas Newman. And there's a part in here in the Shawshank Redemption when Brooks is paroled, and the music, it so reminds me of American Beauty and Road to Perdition, and he has that sound to his music, and that part, absolutely, the music reminds me of those other films. So when I realized, okay, it's Thomas Newman, I went, oh, of course it is. Awards received, like I said again, so surprising. It was nominated for 2 Golden Globes, 7 Academy Awards, and won none of them. I can't believe it. Like, nowadays we regard this as one of the best films one of the best made films of all time, and it won no awards. Like, hold on, wait a second. Hold on. I got to find out what was nominated that year that it didn't win. I have a list of if it'll pop up. I have a list of like what I consider the top 10 nominated things of every year since the year I was born to this year, because my goal is one of these days is to watch all of these films that are nominated in the top 10 categories every year from the year I was born going forward. And what I consider the top 10 categories, and maybe, some people will disagree with me, but what I consider the top 10 categories are Best Picture, Best Directing, Best Leading Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Leading Actress, Best Supporting Actress, Cinematography, Original Music, Original Screenplay, and Adapted Screenplay. So those are the 10 categories that I really focus on every year when it comes to the Academy Awards. Of course, there's animated, but I didn't put that in here. I do like animated, but I guess, the older I get, I'm not as gung-ho about animation, although there have been some fantastic animated films. I love Luca. There has been some really great. Coco is fantastic. There have been some really good stuff that Disney has put out that I really enjoy, and stuff that like DreamWorks has put out that I still enjoy. Prince of Egypt and Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. The DreamWorks one is called Joseph, King of Dreams. That's what it's called. I still enjoy a lot of, other animated stuff. I think there's some really good animated stuff out there. I just did not include it in my top 10. So anyway, I'm looking at 1994 movies. The Shawshank Redemption is on here. So it was nominated for Best Picture, but Forrest Gump won. Okay, I have to I'm gonna get ostracized here. Here's my third video, and now everybody's gonna stop watching because I do not think Forrest Gump should have won. Honestly, I don't think that year Pulp Fiction was nominated. I feel like Pulp Fiction or The Shawshank Redemption should have won. Forrest Gump, okay, whatever. I saw it. I enjoyed it when I saw it. And literally, I've never watched it again. And this will be interesting because it's on the poster. And at one point, I'm going to have to watch it again and really kind of watch it with new eyes and get rid of my old prejudice of not enjoying it or not feeling like it was that great. And it just blew up. And I don't understand why it blew up. But like I said, I need to watch it. When it comes time to watch it again, I need to watch it again with new eyes and really put myself in check. Put my previous thoughts about it in check and watch it with new eyes and see, did it deserve it? Do I feel like it deserves it? Was it really a great film? I'll have to see. Honestly, just looking at the list right now, Pulp Fiction and The Shawshank Redemption, how in the world did Forrest Gump win over those? I don't know. So The Shawshank Redemption was up for Best Picture, did not win. Let me see what else it was up for. Shawshank Redemption, Morgan Freeman was up for Leading Actor. Oh, that's... leading actor. Morgan Freeman as the leading actor. Now that surprises me. I would think that they would say that Tim Robbins is the leading actor in this story. Andy is the focus, but I guess with Morgan Freeman doing the narration, which I either heard or read, I can't remember, I either heard or read that they went through a lot of time trying to decide who should narrate this film, and they weren't sure. Should we have Andy narrate it? Should we have somebody completely else narrate it? Should we have this person? And they finally landed on Morgan Freeman. And okay, everybody knows nowadays. I mean, Morgan Freeman is like one of those narration voices that you absolutely love to hear. And I probably have this in my notes. Yeah, as the narrator. Okay, so I should cross that off. So. Everybody thinks of now Morgan Freeman as like one of the narrators, aside from, James Earl Jones or something like that. They hear that voice and it's like the number one narrated person. Well, The Shawshank Redemption was the first thing he narrated, as far as I remember. And you can fact check me on this one, but I'm pretty sure The Shawshank Redemption is the first thing that he narrated, and that solidified him as like one of the best narrators of all time. I mean, he does such a great job, and this is why I hate to say something bad about a movie I love, because I love Dances with Wolves, and I own and will only watch the director's version because I think the director's version is just phenomenally better. And Kevin Costner does the voiceover. Now, I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but the voiceover is so drone, and so there's not a whole lot of emotion in the narration. And I don't know if he did that on purpose because he's reading out of his diary, or because his emotion in the film as an actor is so much better than his narration of what you hear. And a lot of narration, I guess, is you feel is outside of the film. It's narrated. It's outside of the film. Okay. I think one of the better narrations, if you listen to the Goodfellas, a lot of the narration there is pretty damn good, and you have the emotion there, and it doesn't quite take you away from the film. It keeps you in the film. Well, The Shawshank Redemption is the same thing. Morgan Freeman has all the emotion and all the inflection of as if he were on camera telling you the story instead of reading it off a page. And that's what really made this narration amazing. And it keeps you involved in the story instead of kind of like separating the story and the narration, which Dances with Wolves, in my opinion, absolutely does. It takes you away from, I forget, we're hearing a narration about this. I get it. The Shawshank Redemption keeps you in, and Morgan Freeman does such a fantastic job with the narration. Maybe that's why they put him as leading. Tom Hanks won for Forrest Gump. Again, right now, not knowing anything, I mean, John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, why didn't he win? Why didn't Morgan Freeman win? I'll have to watch that again and try to, like I said, watch it with new eyes and see if I feel differently about it. The Shawshank Redemption was also nominated for cinematography. Legends of the Fall won. I don't know anything about that film. Legends of the Fall. Is that like a Western? I don't. I've heard the title. I don't know anything about it, honestly. So I couldn't say whether I agree with that or not. No clue. Shawshank Redemption was also nominated for music. Thomas Newman. But he also did another score that year, Little Women, which I haven't seen either. Elliot Goldenthal for The Interview with the Vampire, which I did like the music for that. Lion King won. Hans Zimmer. Okay, you gotta kind of give it over for that. The soundtrack for Lion King was fantastic. And The Shawshank Redemption was up for adapted screenplay. Again, Forrest Gump won. Got to get over my Forrest Gump thing. As much as I love The Shawshank Redemption, it's going to be hard to get over the Forrest Gump thing, that it won over Shawshank Redemption on everything almost. I got to get over that. Okay, let's move on. After awards. Why did you choose this particular film? I love Stephen King. That's why I chose it, and because it's number one on the list. I do not want to I do not want to go in order. Number 2 on the list is The Godfather, and I think number 2 on IMDb is still The Godfather, which is, it's fantastic that number 1 and number 2 are still the same. Yes, number 2 on IMDb is still The Godfather. Number 3 on IMDb is still The Dark Knight. Number 4 is not Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. So number 1, 2, and 3 on this poster are still number 1, 2, and 3 on IMDb. I do not plan on going in order. It just so happened that, I did The Shawshank Redemption. Have you seen this movie before? Yes, many times. I mean, I can't count how many times. Would you recommend this? Why or why not? Absolutely. I would recommend this to absolutely anybody. I think that even though it is rated R, there is nothing in this film that I would not show to a 10-year-old. My friend has twin 9-year-olds. The other day we just watched The Book of Henry. Great movie. If you look at that preview of The Book of Henry and you think it's a kid's film, change your mind. Watch it, because it's for kids and adults. It's for both. It's a fantastic mix. They're 9-year-olds. They're gonna lose attention span when it comes to things that they don't quite understand or don't quite know. Yes, I get that there's language in the film. I get that there's language in this film. There are particular, there's violence in this film. I get it. But I was watching horror films when I was, 8, 9, 10 years old. I was watching, Nightmare on Elm Street. And my mom always told me, now, when you watch these films, just know this is fake. This is all pretend. This is all fake, and they do this for the movie. And so I always knew that it was never real. I never got nightmares. I never had a problem with it. So I was watching those kind of films when I was young. Excuse me. If I had kids, which I don't and don't want, if I had kids, I would also tell them that same sort of thing and let them know that, this is all make-believe. And The Shawshank Redemption is something I think I could show to anybody. Even a 10-year-old. I could show it to my friend's kids if he would let me. I don't know if he would let me, but I would recommend this for anybody. It's fantastic. It's a wonderful film. Which character were you most able to identify with or connect with, and why? They're asking a lot of the same questions. I know I've only done 2 of these in the book, but they're asking a lot of the same questions. I kind of thought that they would ask different questions. This is The one I did before was first film of a famous director. Okay, maybe ask questions that are geared toward directing or the making of the film or how it was made. This one is a book adaptation. Why wouldn't you be asking more questions about the book and the film instead of asking all the same questions? I mean, that I don't know, but a lot of these questions are exactly the same. Anyway, which character are you most able to identify with or connect with? I would say, Andy, the lead. That sense of injustice. I mean, haven't we all at some point in our life had some, not to the not to the degree that we were imprisoned wrongfully for a murder that we didn't commit. No, but at some point, can't we all identify with that feeling of injustice, of being either blamed for something that we didn't do or feeling guilty for something that really isn't our fault, or being punished for something that's not our fault? I think that's a very, that can happen to just about anybody. Best line or memorable quote. For me, get busy living or get busy dying. That's one of the, there are so many great quotes in this film. You can just run off at the mouth at everything. Hope is one of the best of things. There's just so many great lines in this film, and I may say them as I go through my notes, because I did write a lot of notes. I may say, a bunch of them as I go through my notes, but get busy living or get busy dying is one of the big, great, it sums up the whole film. the ending line of the film is one of my favorites as well, because, and I'm not going to say it yet, because I think it's one of the best ending lines to a film ever. There's a handful I can think of, and I haven't seen what is it, Casablanca, or what's the one he says? What's the big memorable quote? People are going to stop watching me now because I don't know these things, and they're huge cinematography. The whole thing is, I don't go off of what is popular. I go off of what I like and what I know. And so, what's the, here's looking at you, kid. I don't know what that's from. I know the quote. I don't know what it's from. And how many people think that the line is, Luke, I am your father? That's not the line. Watch the movie. The line is, I'm going to get it wrong. Yes, no, I am your father. That's what it said. No, I am your father. You killed my father. No, I am you. No. What's the best ending line of a movie? What's the big one? The big, here's looking at you, kid. Isn't that the one? Or this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Isn't that the one that I'm just totally blanking on which film it is? Right? Best ending line. Silence of the Lambs. No, I don't think that's best ending line. Give me a break, really? I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. That's Casablanca. That's one of the biggest, and then what was the other one? Isn't there another one? Fight Club, was it? No. Okay. That's the one I think that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. That Casablanca. It's on the list. I'll end up watching. I haven't watched it yet, but Shawshank Redemption unfortunately was not on that list. The Shawshank Redemption, I think, has one of the best ending lines of a movie ever, because it sums up the movie. It sums up the intention of the film so well, and I'll get to that. What you were you surprised by the ending? What would you do differently? I was already talking about the ending. No, I wasn't surprised by the ending. I mean, I've read the book. Have you read the book? Have you read the book? Considering the time restrictions a movie has, did the film capture the original story? Well, I've already talked about this, so I don't need to talk about it more. Yes, I think it did a great job. I think Darabont did a fantastic job of changing the tone from what I get from when I read the story. And anything else you'd like to say, I could watch this movie over and over and over again. At the very end, the book says, movies that are adapted from books historically have a higher probability of becoming a big box office hit. Okay, well, because the story's already there. You're not working on, people already enjoy the story. They've read the book. They're not going to make a film out of a book that sold 100 copies. They're going to make, films out of books that sold 1 million copies. So people already know the story. People already like the story. They're going to go watch the film. So I guess that makes sense. And on that note, I want to see, okay, looks like the budget was $25 million, gross worldwide was $28 million. Honestly, that's not a huge income. $25 million estimated, $25 million budget, and it only made $28 million, $3 million return. That's not a big return. That's surprising. I find that surprising. Okay. So I wrote a bunch of notes when I watched it, and I wanted the things I wanted to talk about. In the book, so in the book when he goes to prison, when Andy goes to prison, and so here's the thing. So the book describes Andy completely different. He's short, he's fat, he's bald. I think he's bald or balding, glasses. I mean, like you would think an accountant would look like, not, at the time, big and very handsome Tim Robbins. I mean, Tim Robbins is like 6'4" or something. Anyway, so they look nothing alike. Also, Red. I don't remember Red being black. They don't. I don't think he ever says he's black. I don't think actually he ever says that he's not black. He does say that he's Irish. So, I mean, you could posit. I mean, you could, in your brain, you're thinking, not many people when they say Irish think of a black Irish or a black person. Yes, there are plenty of black people that are Irish as well, but that's not what pops in your brain when somebody, describes someone as being Irish. I don't remember him being, I'm almost positive he's not black in the book. And I find it amazing and fantastic that Morgan Freeman is like the perfect choice, and he happens to be black, and I think that's fantastic. And I love that they keep the line and the little smirk after he says, why do they call you Red? And he's like, I guess it's because I'm Irish. And then Andy walks away and he kind of laughs like, yeah, you wouldn't expect an Irishman to be black, but he is. The other thing is, and I wrote down, is in the story, Andy's tenure at Shawshank Redemption, Andy's time at Shawshank Redemption goes through multiple wardens. And I love in the film that they stick with one warden. I'm sure it's cost effective, but it also, in my opinion, gets you to identify with the warden and get who that character is, because you're not supposed to like that character. And I don't know if I wrote this or not. Did I write this? Rock. No. Oh, I did write it. Okay. I did write it, so I'll talk about that later. So the warden, the multiple wardens, I like that he only made one warden. I think some of the people in this film have never been better, and the warden, Bob Gunton, is one of them. I've never seen him better. He's so amazing in this film. Clancy Brown is another one. I've seen a couple other things he did. He's a fine actor. I wouldn't go out to like watch something it was just him, but he is remarkable in this film. This role and what I'm assuming what Darabont was able to get out of him for this role is just amazing. The guy who plays Elmo Blatch, who is that? I hate not calling people by their name. There are a lot of people I don't know their name, but and I can't remember everybody's name. I'm gonna find him right now because he was remarkable. Elmo Blatch. Oh, please tell me he's... Yeah, there he is. Bill Bolender as Elmo Blatch. Wow. Okay, I saw a YouTube video. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where they talk about like the best scenes in films or the best monologues or the best acting or best blah, blah, blah. And one of them I remember, and I'm almost positive it was the best monologues. I may be wrong, but it was the best monologues in film. And they had that scene of Elmo Blatch talking about... that's the best part, where he talks about killing the wife and that they blamed it on Andy. It's so amazing. I love that instead of having that character who's telling them the story. Oh my God, why can't I can't remember his name right now. The kid. Totally blanking. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm totally blanking on the kid's name. Anyway, he's telling the story of when I was a cellmate with him. Instead of having him tell the story, they cut to Elmo Blatch actually talking and saying it, and it's so wonderful. It's so it's one of the best scenes of the film. It's just... It really is. he does such a great job at being who he is, and he's only on screen for maybe a minute and a half. Like, he's barely on screen, and so memorable and so wonderful. And there's a lot of actors like that I think in this film really brought out the best in a lot of actors. I already said that. The rooftop scene. I want to talk about the rooftop scene. When Clancy Brown's character, he says that, his brother died, and he's getting an inheritance, and they're all the inmates are tarring the roof. It's so well written. The dialogue and the way the guards are talking to each other, it's so conversational. I don't feel like it's staged. I feel like this totally could be a conversation between them, and who they're paying attention to and who they're showing, when they show Andy looking up and when they show the inmates, like, pay attention to your mop, that kind of thing. It's really well done. And the tension between, when he walks up to them, oh my God, the tension when he grabs him and takes him to the edge. The camera angle is so well done. You can't tell how far away he is from the edge. It looks like he's on the edge. He's not. It looks like he's like literally on the edge. And oh my God, do they have like something strapped to him to make sure that he doesn't fall? Tim Robbins doesn't fall. No, he's really not that close to the edge. But the camera angle is done so well that, and the tension, it's so well done. The pacing, the tension, every little piece of that scene is very, very well done. Live video. I'm going to put that down. Okay, live video, that's what happens. And what I appreciate about this, I have several pet peeves when it comes to film. When you want to make film, you got to make it believable. I want to believe that I'm there. I want the actors to make me believe that they are who they are. I want the director to make me believe that I'm watching what you want me to watch. And I have two big pet peeves. One, when people don't say goodbye when they hang up the phone. Oh my God, that drives me nuts. In TV and film, how often in real life do you hang up the phone without saying bye or see you later or talk to you later or something like that? It's so irritating when an actor does that. I get that they're not really on the phone, but think about it. I mean, I want it to be real. Another big pet peeve is drinks. When drinks, especially when you can't see, when it's like when it's like a Starbucks mug or something like that, you can't see what's in there, and most of the time there's nothing in there, and you can tell by the way they gesture with it or where they, and you're like, you just got that cup. How is it completely empty? How are you drinking hot coffee? No problem. We sip hot coffee. Think about when you get a coffee, you're sipping it. It's hot. It's warm. It's whatever. When you have liquid in your glass, how you drink it is completely different. Not only that, but a huge pet peeve, the color. This looks like wine. It looks like wine on camera because it is wine. How many times do you watch films where it's supposed to be alcohol and they're pouring it, it's supposed to be, bourbon or scotch or something like that, and they're pouring it and it bubbles like tea. And you're like, that's tea. That is not bourbon. Go get a bottle of bourbon. Any of you have it? Go pour it. It doesn't bubble like that. What I appreciate about let's get back to the Shawshank Redemption. What I appreciate about the rooftop scene is that beer is real. Look at it. Look at when they move it. The foam inside. Look at when Haywood, William Sadler, Haywood, he drank and kind of like spits up on it, like it almost chokes on it, and the bubble on top of the bottle, that is beer. Look at it when Red drinks it. You can see the bubbling. It's beer. Thank you, Frank Darabont. Yeah, you don't want your actors sitting around drinking all day when they're supposed to be working, but I want it to look real. Thank you for using real beer. And it makes a difference to me. I look at it and I go, it makes a difference because so many times I'm watching alcohol that doesn't look like alcohol. Oh, and another one of my things is how many people actually drink, straight bourbon or scotch or straight vodka or straight whatever. Why aren't people making more drinks in films? The Big Lebowski, he makes a drink and I love it because he's making a drink. How many people just ice and vodka? Do a lot of people do that? I don't ever do that. I don't know. I mean, the fewest ingredients I use is 2. If I make, a gin, tonic, and lime, something like that. But that doesn't tend to happen in films. A lot of times they're just on the rocks. Why? Because you don't want to take that much time. You don't want to. I don't know why. Why can't you have him make a real drink? If you want your character to drink, make a real drink. Let's hear. Oh, okay. So when Andy asks Red, Red asks Andy, we're getting to be friends. Can I ask you something? He says, yeah, anything. And he says, well, why did you do it? And Andy tells him, I'm innocent. And you can see the disappointment on Red's face because Red believes that he's lying. That, like everybody else, he's going to say the same thing, the lawyer fucked me, something like that. He's going to say something else. And I think Red wants the answer and believes there's an answer and believes that Andy killed his wife. But Andy is really innocent and Red doesn't know that. What I love about this part is not that part. It's right after when Andy asks Red, what did he do? And he says, murder. And he's innocent? And Red says, only guilty man in Shawshank. I've got to say, that is not a throwaway. That is not a throwaway part. That is not a throwaway line. They're giving you a really big piece of information. Later on, when Brooks leaves, he gets paroled and he commits suicide. That is probably, hands down, the saddest part of the film. But equally, I think almost equally sad, is the fact that Red, you can tell by the way he acknowledges that he's guilty, the way he says it, and the way he, almost in every scene, when other people are goofing around and when they're fishing for the new guys and everybody's goofing around, the shots of Red, he is disinterested. He doesn't like prison life. He doesn't belong there. He is truly rehabilitated. And the fact that he's still there is sad. And this line, in my opinion, sums that up. That he is willing to say he is guilty, and you can tell by the way he says it that he's sorry about it, and he's not that person anymore. And he's not that person from the beginning of the film, not from the beginning of when he went in. From the beginning of the film, he's not that person anymore who committed that murder when he was a teenager. And it's so sad to know that this man who truly is rehabilitated, maybe not like everybody else in the film or everybody else that's in that prison, but Red is truly rehabilitated and stuck for decades in prison. We know Andy's getting out. Maybe you don't know that in the beginning, but Andy does get out, and I think the saddest part is that Red has to be there so long when he truly regrets, what he did. And I think that line is the one, only guilty man in Shawshank. I think that line sums that up. That really it tells the audience he's sorry. He's truly rehabilitated. He's not who he was that committed that crime. Tossing cells. Why did I say that? Visit to the cell. Tossing cells. Oh. Yeah, when they do the tossing cells, what's brilliant about this is watch Andy. Pay attention to Andy like as close as you possibly can. Because when you watch it the first time, if you've never seen this film and you watch that part, You don't know what's behind the poster. You don't know what's in the Bible. You see Andy and you think, oh, he's nervous. Why is he nervous? Because they're tossing his cell, and he's just nervous because he's Andy. No, watch it again. That's why some movies are worth a second. I mean, The Usual Suspects. You gotta watch that again. Oh, there are some movies when you get to the ending, something so profound happens, or something that you didn't know while you watch the movie is so amazing. You've got to watch it again just to see all the little things the director, the actor, the writer all knew when they were making this, and you didn't know the first time you watched it. And this scene is a perfect example of that. Watch it again. When they come in, he is worried when they toss up his mattress and they're using the baton and they're knocking stuff off the shelf and blah blah blah. It would just take somebody bouncing against the poster or accidentally knocking it or hitting it the wrong way that will reveal a big hole that he's made. Now, at this point, is it a tunnel? No, but it's a damn big hole. I can guarantee you that. It's big enough for them to go, what the fuck is going on? He's digging a hole in the wall. So that's one. And then two, the Bible. When the warden takes the Bible from him, I'm glad to see you reading this. You would think he would, I'm glad to see you reading this, and he would, do you have any favorite parts? You would think he might do that. It's not a hardback like this. The Bible that he has. Do I have one? Okay, so the Bible that he has is a flimsy. It's not a hard cover. You would think the warden would, any favorite parts, something like that. If he did that, he would find the cutout of the rock hammer. So literally, like, watch it again. It's worth watching again. That scene is brilliant. It's worth watching in all that tension. And then when the warden walks out with the Bible and then gives it back to him, the second time around, you'll appreciate that scene so much more. It's so wonderful. All the little things that because everybody knows what's there. All the little things it's great. It's fantastic. Brooks. Oh, the actor, James Whitmore. Okay, this film, like I said, is filled with a bunch of... My damn chair keeps squeaking and it's annoying me. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but I keep this squeaking in my chair. I'm going to sit away from the back. It's starting to bug me. Hold on. I'm sorry. Okay. The actor, James Whitmore, who plays Brooks. Yes, there are a lot of great performances in this. Morgan Freeman is great. Andy, Tim Robbins is great. Clancy Brown, I've never seen him better. He's brilliant in this. But James Whitmore, and I've talked about this in another video, the mark of a great actor is that I believe you. I want them to make me believe they are who they are. And not once did I feel like James Whitmore was acting. Not once. I believed him 1,000% the entire time. Every line that he had, every gesture that he did, every every little thing when he sets Jake free, every little thing, I believed him 1,000%. He was so amazing. That is the performance of a lifetime. What else has he done? Honestly, I can't think, have I seen him in anything else? Has he done anything else that I would recognize off the top of my head? All I know him from really, when I'm just thinking, all I know him from is the Shawshank Redemption, and he is just unbelievable. He was in Fun with Dick and Jane? Holy wow, I didn't... I had zero idea. I mean, I know him. I know him well enough. I've seen Shawshank Redemption plenty of times before I ever saw Fun with Dick and Jane. That's interesting. I never knew he was in that. Okay, Shawshank. I'm assuming that it would be before the Shawshank Redemption. Oh, TV movie. No. That's no. No. Now we're getting into the 80s. I probably wouldn't know these. No. Oh, that's sad. I don't know anything else he's ever been in. Okay. He was in Tora, but I haven't seen that. That's a huge film in 1970. I haven't seen that yet. One of these days I probably will. He was only in one episode of that, so that doesn't matter. Okay, I haven't seen anything else he's been in, except for that Fun with Dick and Jane, which is so random. Oh, it says he's uncredited. Toy store security guard, uncredited. Okay, well, of course I missed him, because I'm sure he's just in the background or something like that. Wow. His performance in The Shawshank Redemption is what I aspire to be one of those characters that you think they got somebody off the street, and he just is. He just is. This last award season, I was paying very close attention to. I watched all the films in the top 10 in my top 10 categories, and To Leslie. Wow. To Leslie, did I think it was worth? I'm not gonna even try. I'm not gonna get this wrong. To Leslie, do I think it was like the best film of the year? Absolutely not. But Andrea Riseborough. Andrea Riseborough. Wow. Like that, another just a brilliant performance. I thought they got a junkie off the street and just filmed her. And I was just like, is this just some junkie they got off the street and filmed? No, it was Andrea Riseborough, an actress, and she was so brilliant. I believed every second. And James Whitmore was like that in this. I believed every second that he was on screen. Absolutely wonderful. So I wanted to also mention that, I talked a little bit about that part where he gets paroled and that whole thing. I saw a video of someone that said it's a perfect it's a perfect part of the film where in the video they said that once he gets paroled and the guards say goodbye and let him go, they said watch really closely because nobody looks at Brooks. Nobody looks at Brooks. And it's supposed to make him be isolated and feel isolated. And power of suggestion. I was like, I watched that YouTube video and I was like, really? Nobody looks at Brooks? Are you serious? So I went and watched the film again and I was like, holy shit, they're right. Nobody looks at Brooks. And I remember in the video, they had all these arrows where he's on the bus and he's on the bus and like all the people are looking in different directions. And then when he's walking across the street, obviously nobody looks at him, and when the lady lets him into his apartment, she tries really hard not to look at him, not to look him in the eye, not look at him. And these are the things they pointed out in that little YouTube video. And I was like, whoa, that is crazy how nobody looks at him. And then he commits suicide. And it's supposed to make it a perfect example of making you also as the audience feel kind of isolated. Well, I watched it this time with that in mind, but also trying to think about how I feel about it and how I feel about that scene and how I feel about the whole film. Well, there are people that look at him. So that YouTube video, I don't know who did it, but you're wrong. There are the convenience store boss looks at him, both of them. because I believe there are two different ones. I might be wrong, but at least the both times that the convenience store boss, the Foodway, both times they show that quick scene, one where they say, your man forgot to bag. She doesn't look at him, but the boss looks at him in the eye. Absolutely. Make sure you double bag like the lady says. He does. And the second time, when Brooks is doing the voiceover and he's at the Foodway, maybe I can rob the Foodway. I could shoot the manager as an added bonus. They look at each other in the eye. There's no dialogue. Their lips move. We can't hear what they say, but they look each other in the eye. So that video was wrong. The Foodway manager, I think it's two different actors, but it might just be one. It doesn't matter. Both scenes with the Foodway manager, the manager does look at him in the eye. So, not to say that whoever did that video wasn't right about the isolation. Darabont did a fantastic job of making you feel isolated and making it seem like the character is worthless, like nobody cares about him. That it's not only his voiceover, because also the power of suggestion. That voiceover is brilliant, where he's talking about not understanding the world anymore, and the world got itself in a big hurry, and all these things that I didn't know. Vehicles. I saw one once. The voiceover is fantastic, and it makes you feel sorry for Brooks, and you kind of know what's coming, and it's sad. It's great, and it's sad, but there are characters that look him in the eye. Not, like I said, not to say it really did get the point across. It really did get, and that's such a great scene. It's such a beautiful scene. I said that. Oh yeah. So there are a lot of films that I love that I wish I could have that original feeling back of watching it the first time. I said I wasn't going to sit like that. This stupid thing. Usual Suspects is one of them. I really wish I could watch that and not know who Kaiser Soze is. Not know the ending. Not know, it's all bullshit. Like, I wish I could have that feeling again and then watch it over again and be like shocked. Not the end of the film, but Andy's suicide. It's so well set up. Darabont sets it up so well. That's the trick of camera. You can not show things first time through, and second time through you can show things like the shoes, like Andy's got the shoes on. I think it's so well done. Everybody who talks about Brooks just commits suicide, and Andy's talking weird, and he was just in the hole for 2 months, and he's really guilty about, he's innocent, but he's still guilty about how he treated his wife. And he asked for rope, and all these indicators of committing suicide, even though several characters are like, no, Andy would never do that. They set it up so well that I wish I could go back. I saw this movie so long ago. I don't remember how I felt or what I experienced. Did I really think Andy was going to commit suicide? I don't remember, but I can imagine myself, because it was so well done, I can imagine that I probably did think Andy was going to commit suicide. I have no idea. Oh, you know what? Now that I think of it, I don't think I I didn't read the story before. I think I said that earlier in the video. No, I didn't read the story. Was I surprised by the ending? I was not surprised by the ending, but it was not because I had read the book. I didn't read the novel until way later. I didn't read the entire book, Different Seasons, until a couple of years ago. The Breathing Method I had not read until literally like 2 or 3 years ago. I finally read The Breathing Method, but all the other stories, yes. the Body, which was Stand By Me. I read that a long time ago because I loved the film so much. I was like, oh my God, where's this from? The first Stephen King book I ever read was Thinner. I read my dad's copy of Thinner. When my dad passed away, I got his copy. So on the shelf is my dad's copy of Thinner, the very first Stephen King book I ever read. And ever since then, I've been hooked on Stephen King. And when I found out that Stand By Me, this fantastic film that I loved, was Stephen King, The Body, I went to the library. I didn't check out. I was at the library and I read over a couple of days, I read The Body at the library, and it was great. I loved it, but I didn't finish the book. I didn't check out the book. I didn't read the rest of the book. I wasn't all that interested in what was. I don't know if I was or wasn't interested, but it never occurred to me to check out the book, or maybe I couldn't check out the book because I was in junior high and. Would they let somebody in junior high check out Stephen King? I don't know. I can't remember. But I do remember that I only read that story. It took years later when Bryan Singer did Apt Pupil that I went, oh yeah. And so I don't remember if it was the book or if I found it like online somewhere. But I remember reading Apt Pupil at that point, not reading the other two. And of course, when Bryan Singer did Apt Pupil, The Shawshank Redemption had been out. And I had seen The Shawshank Redemption, I don't know how many times already. When did Apt Pupil come out? Apt 98. Okay. So 94 was The Shawshank Redemption, 98 was Apt Pupil. So The Shawshank Redemption had been out 4 years, and I'm sure I had seen The Shawshank Redemption multiple times before I saw Apt Pupil, a bunch of times. But when I saw Apt Pupil, and I went, oh yeah, Stephen King. So I guess I rented the book from the library, or got the book from the library. Rented. I mean, you don't pay for it. I borrowed the book from the library. And I read it and I loved it. It was so good. Oh my God. The kid is so much more creepy in the book than in the movie. But anyway, I didn't read the whole thing again. Why wouldn't I read The Shawshank Redemption? It took years later until I went back and read The Shawshank Redemption and went, whoa, that was great. And then it's so ridiculous that it took me years to read all 4 books or all 4 stories in one book. But then years later, I bought the book and read all of them again, and then read Breathing Method, which, like I said, I would be curious to see if they made a film of that. But the misdirection on Andy's suicide as film, so I'm sure I probably was shocked by that. I probably did think that he was going to commit suicide. It's so well done. And then obviously right away you find out, he didn't. But it's so well done. And right after that, when, the warden is in his cell and screaming at them and they don't know how Andy disappeared. I told my friend the other day that one of the best examples of finding something on accident. It's hard. It's hard for a director in a film to do finding something on accident, because it always feels or always looks like, well, that, of course he's supposed to find it, or he accidentally found, why would he look that way, or why would he look, Seven did it really well. He's looking in the, he's looking in the fridge, that part where he's looking in the fridge, and then he goes to close it and kind of goes his hand down a little bit. So Seven does it okay, and then he sees the little marks on the ground, and okay. So Seven does it okay. One of the best examples is Prisoner, when Jake Gyllenhaal's character, he's so upset and he tears up, his. I may review this at one point, so I don't want to go too in depth. He tears up his desk, knocks things over, knocks these pictures over, and then sees on the ground. He's distraught, he's upset, and then sees on the ground something that he needs to further the story. And that, I think, is one of the best, in my opinion, best accidentally or found piece of evidence. And the Shawshank Redemption is like a sliver underneath that. When the warden is yelling at them, and then and you too, Cupcake, and throws the rock at the poster, and the rock goes through, and then you hear it, and you're just like, it's like magic. It really, that's movie magic. That is just brilliant. And all the shock on their face, including Red, including the shock on Red's face. And then the warden puts his hand through and tears it down, and then the whole that is literally, I don't know, maybe that is better than Prisoners, the accidental find in Prisoners. Both of those are equally like, oh my God, that was brilliantly done. And to be honest, I read Shawshank Redemption so long ago, I don't remember if that's in the story or not, but the film does it so well. And I'm in love with film more than I'm in love with books. Film is my love, film is my passion, and it does it so well. I mean, every time it almost gives me goosebumps. I just love it. Almost gives me goosebumps every time. I love that scene when he throws and you too, Cupcake, just before that, okay. I don't know why I wrote these notes. Just before that, when they show, it is after. Because, like I said, the first time around, they don't show certain things. Second time around, they do show things like the shoes. And when you finally find out that, Andy has escaped, and then they go back through those same scenes and show you something different, like he's shining the shoes, and then he walks in to his cell with the shoes on. You also find out that underneath his prison clothes, he is wearing a suit. Whose suit? The warden. Wait. Wait. Tim Robbins is like 6'2" or 6'4" or something like that. Bob Gunton is not 6'4". They are not even close to being the same size. Here is a different type of movie magic. Because the ridiculousness of the fact that they wear the same size clothes is beyond absurd. But do we ever think that? Do we ever question that? No, not really. We're so caught up in the story, we don't question that at all. And just because I find little things like this that are like ridiculous doesn't mean I don't think the film is still brilliant. The film is still brilliant, but that is just, every single time I watch it, I'm like, there's no way he wore the same shoe size. There's no way he wore the same suit size. If Tim Robbins tried to fit into Bob Gunton's clothes, it would look insanely ridiculous. It would look like a 10-year-old's trying to put on dad. No. The other way around. It would look like dad's trying to put on his 10 or 12-year-old son's clothes. It would be insanely ridiculous. Anyway, moving on from that, the suicide of the warden, that is not in the book. I don't know if Stephen King co-wrote the screenplay with Frank Darabont. I don't know. But the choice to have the warden kill himself is brilliant. The choice to have the warden commit suicide, I love it. And it is not in the book. And it reminds me of later on in years, Darabont. Like I said, Darabont did 3 of Stephen King's things. The Shawshank Redemption was first. The Green Mile was second, which is on the poster, and eventually I will do a review of. And the third one is The Myst, which was not on par with the other 2 films. I'll just say that. It's still a good film. I liked it. I enjoy it a lot. Stephen King, I believe, wrote that one first of all of these. He wrote The Myst a long time ago. If I remember correctly, it's in... I don't remember which one it's in. I don't think it's in Skeleton Crew. I don't think it's that early. I think it's in Night Shift. Anyway, he wrote that before he wrote The Shawshank Redemption. Anyway, it is a short story. It's not a novella. And Stephen King did not write an ending to The Myst. He even says in the story, as he's writing the story, he even writes, there is no ending. Because the story is the main character writing what has happened. And he's literally writing it on hotel stationery, stuck in a hotel. And he's like, tomorrow we hear radio signals, faint radio signals. So we think if we go far enough south, we may escape the fog. I'm just writing all this down and leaving it at the hotel in case somebody finds it. So literally there is no ending. He's at the hotel. He writes all the way to the end of being at the hotel, and then he moves on. We have no idea what happens to him. No idea in the story. No idea. What I love about Frank Darabont is in this The Shawshank Redemption, I believe he said it's important to have. I think it would be a good idea, and it's important to have the warden commit suicide, and I think it's fantastic. And the other thing I think is fantastic is the ending that he wrote to The Myst. The ending is it's like the perfect ending to a horror film. It is so horrifying what happens at the end. It's so gut-wrenching what happens at the end of The Myst. The ending that he wrote, because you can't make a film and have no ending. I mean, you can't make a horror film and have no real ending. It would kind of suck. You can have an open ending like Summer of '84. Love that. That is one of the best endings to a horror film, in my opinion, because the horror continues. Because the bad guy gets away. But the Summer of '84, he says... He tells the kid, I want you to think about me every day from now on, and one of these days I am going to come for you. And it's horrifying. It's fantastic, and it's horrifying. It's wonderful. And the ending to The Myst is not it's not horrifying. It's not continually horrifying, but it's gut-wrenching, and it's perfect. It's an amazing ending that he wrote to The Myst, and as a testament to somebody who probably loves Stephen King, like I do, he really knows how to get what Stephen King, get that Stephen King feel across, and he did a great job in this as well. Going off on a tangent, so I want to end this video on what I said I was going to end this video on, which is, in my opinion, I love the last line of this film. It is one of the best film endings to a film ever. The line is brilliant, and it's narrated by Morgan Freeman. So this solidifies him as one of the best narrators of all time, and the ending is him talking, and he talks about how I hope he's been paroled finally. He's been paroled. He's going to go see his friend Andy because he got a postcard from him. So he knows where he's at. He's going down to visit him. So I hope I see my friend. I hope, I hope the Pacific is as blue as it is in my dreams. But the last line, and like I said, it's brilliant for this film, sums up the film, and he just very softly, very, very wonderfully, and filled with hope, he just says, I hope. And then you see him, meet Andy on the beach, and it's just like, that's brilliant. It's just, yeah, there are a lot of films that I love the way they end. Surprise endings, bad guys getting away, those kind of things. This is such a great ending to such a wonderful film, and Darabont did such a great job with all the pacing and the timing. It's 2 hours and 22 minutes and doesn't feel like it because you're so wrapped up in the film, and that line is just, he ends on I hope, and that was just brilliant. Anyway, I'm going to end the video here. Hopefully you like The Shawshank Redemption as much as I do. Again, there's going to be a list of I should have said this at the beginning of the video. There's going to be a list of all the films I talk about on the bottom. So if you want to avoid spoilers, because I have said some spoilers, especially about The Shawshank Redemption in this video, you can avoid them by looking at the list on the bottom. I guess this is sort of a dumb thing to say at the very end of the video, but again, like I said, I'm not editing these. So hopefully you have seen one of my other videos and avoid spoilers by checking the list of the movies underneath. Thanks a lot, and the next film, I have no idea. I started going through this book and trying to write down, okay, what am I going to do for each one of these new release, pre-1900s film, animated feature, silent film. I'm trying to go through and make sure I know what films I'm doing and see if they coincide with the poster, but I have not set a timeline of, okay, what am I doing next? So I'll see you next time, and hopefully you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Thanks.